Hi guys, welcome back to my channel For Your Heart and Home. My name is Dee Dee. Welcome into my kitchen. So I'm starting today by milling some flour, and as I'm sitting here, I'm realizing that I didn't get any video of the muffins that I made for breakfast this morning, but I will assure you that they were delicious. But I started by milling some flour, and I will take a portion of the milled flour and I'll be making 2 sandwich loaves for my family. Now, these 2 loaves will last us basically 2 meals. So I make bread almost every day, depending on what I'm using the bread for, but I will make 2 loaves of bread pretty much every other day for our family. Since we switched to freshly milled flour, my daughters really love the bread and they will just take the bread and eat it without even putting peanut butter or cheese or any other topping on the bread. They'll just take the bread and eat it as it is. And so, with them using the bread pretty much as a snack, I have been making even more bread now. So, I'm happy with it. They're eating it, they're not complaining. And so, I'm really glad that this transition to freshly milled flour is going much smoother than I anticipated it would. So I'm simply just taking my flour and I'm going to add all my ingredients to my bread machine. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll know that I absolutely love my bread machine. I've had one before we even had children, and I have learned that I use my bread machine for the dough cycle primarily right now. My bread machine can be programmed to do lots of things, include making jams, doing sourdough, all these different things. But one, I don't do sourdough, and two, I love using the dough feature because it saves me so much time and so much energy. I do not bake anything in my bread machine. I simply use it for the dough cycle. So when this cycle is finished, I will have enough dough for a 2-pound loaf of bread. A 2-pound loaf of bread is too much bread for us to be contending with at a time. So I like to take that 2-pound dough, divide it into 2 separate loaves, and I will bake them in my cast iron pan in the oven. It will produce enough bread for us to have 2 full meals. So that's what you see me doing right now. I'm just taking all the ingredients I need to put in my bread machine so my bread machine can go through the dough cycle and I can work on something else in the kitchen. This is a very basic sandwich loaf recipe, and it's one that I'm using that came with my bread machine. The only addition is that I'm using Vital Wheat gluten with my bread machine to create these sandwich loaves. Now, I know Vital Wheat gluten is a hot topic and some people choose not to use it, but I find that it gives my bread enough structure, and I've had enough filled bread to know that, you know what, I'm gonna be comfortable. I'm not gonna be perfect, but with Vital Wheat gluten, we get the consistency that we're looking for, we get the taste that we like, and so we're using that right now. Maybe I will transition out of using Vital Wheat gluten, but for now, we're using it, and I'm producing really good loaves. So now that all the ingredients are in my container, I'm going to put that in my bread machine and I'll let that run through the dough cycle. So I made some pancakes for breakfast this morning. I did not get enough footage, but trust me, they came out really good. They were very tasty, and I made them without the use of eggs. I posted a video a few weeks ago where I shared some egg-free recipes, and this is one of them. So I make pancakes from time to time, and I include ground flaxseed as a replacement for eggs. I simply take 1 tablespoon of flaxseed to 1 tablespoon of water. I mix that around and let that bloom for a while, maybe 5 minutes, similar to how you would let yeast bloom before you make bread. And then once it's bloomed, I'll add it to my mix. In this case, I'm using 2 tablespoons of flaxseed to 2 tablespoons of water because my recipe called for 2 eggs. So essentially, to replace the eggs in a recipe, you need 1 tablespoon of flaxseed ground and 1 tablespoon of water. Mix it together and let it bloom for 5 minutes and then add it to your mix. So again, it produces really great fluffy pancakes, and I made a bunch of those for breakfast this morning, and then I took a break from the recording to come back and film the rest of the things I was working on in the kitchen on this day. In addition to making pancakes for breakfast this day, I was also making some home fries. And so when you're working with freshly milled flour, it's always good to give it a chance to rest before you use it. So I made my pancake batter, and that's what you see off in the corner, and I'm allowing it to rest and for the freshly milled flour to soak in as much liquid as it would like before I try to make these pancakes. And so while I was chopping up the potatoes, I was allowing my pancake batter to rest. So, like I said, we then took a break and had some breakfast, and then I came back to finish up what I was doing in the kitchen. So, while we were having breakfast, the bread machine went off. I took the dough out of the bread machine, like I stated, and I divided it into 2 parts, and I shaped it and put it in a loaf pan, and then I allowed the loaves to do a second rise in the loaf pan. And this is me just taking them and putting them into the oven so they can bake off. And I will show you at the end what they looked like. So for dinner this day, we were going to have some homemade pasta with ground chicken. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know that when I do my grocery shopping once per month, I like to buy whole chickens. But my family doesn't really enjoy eating the chicken breast, and so I like to reserve the chicken breast once I have broken down each chicken. And so I had some chicken breast reserved in the freezer that I had defrosted, and I decided to ground those up today and make some pasta to go with that for dinner. This has really become like a staple for us every week. We have pasta in some form, and if there's any chicken in the freezer, I just defrost it really quickly and add it to the pasta meal. And we do pasta in various different dyes. Today I'm doing spaghetti, but sometimes I do a different shape. It all depends on how we're feeling and the time that I have. The reason why I really enjoy using this pasta maker now is because it works really well with the freshly milled flour, which is what we're converting to, or we have converted to using freshly milled flour. And so I found a really great recipe. I'll link it in the description box that uses freshly milled flour, and our pasta has been coming out beautifully, and I do not have to do a lot of work. Before, I was rolling out the dough and cutting the dough, and sometimes it would work and it would get frustrating, and what was supposed to take 15 minutes was taking an hour. And so with this machine, I can have freshly milled flour pasta ready in no time. And so that's what we're working on for dinner on this day. I'm simply just taking the flour that was just milled, and I'm putting all the ingredients I need into my pasta maker, and I will allow the pasta maker to go through its cycle and make the pasta. I'm also making this pasta without eggs, and the recipe calls for eggs, but if you don't have eggs, you can just up the hydration level to accommodate for the missing eggs in the recipe. So to have the pasta really come out well, it's a great idea to have your dough rest. Like I said before, when you're working with freshly milled flour, if you can give your dough time to rest, you will have a much better product. And so while my pasta machine is taking a rest, I decided I have some extra time. I'm going to be making some ice cream. We haven't had ice cream in a long time. And if you've seen any of my previous videos, you know that a few months ago I bought a huge pack of ready-made pie crusts. And so I was determined to use them up this week. I had 2 more left, and so today I am using some ice cream to make a ice cream pie, and I'm using the other bit of ice cream to fill my quart size jar. So there's some among us in our family who prefer just the plain vanilla ice cream, and then they can put their toppings on, whether it's chocolate chips or peanut butter chips or sprinkles. And then there's some of us who like the ice cream pie. So whenever I make a batch of ice cream, I get 2 quarts. And so I just divide my batch into a quart size container, and then I take the rest of it to make the ice cream pie. And it's the best of both worlds. Whoever wants pie can get the pie, and whoever just wants plain ice cream can get the plain ice cream. So I'm just going ahead, putting all the ingredients together to mix up this ice cream really quickly. And I have an ice cream maker that I've shared before. If you're interested in seeing my ice cream machine, I can link that in the description box below as well. And the only caveat I have to this ice cream machine is that the bowl needs to be frozen at least 24 hours before you want to make ice cream. And frankly, I can't always think ahead to make the bowl go into my freezer for 24 hours before I actually want ice cream. So to save myself the trouble, I just store my clean ice cream bowl in the freezer all the time. So after making ice cream, I always wash it out, of course. I dry it very well, and then I put it in a freezer safe Ziploc bag, and I put it in my freezer, and it stays there until we need ice cream again. So next, I'm also working on making some water kefir. This was my first time making water kefir, and so a few days ahead of time, I knew that I had to have my kefir hydrated, and so I had it soaking in the sugar water, and now I'm just straining it off, and I will be taking that and I will be adding some cranberry juice to that. Spoiler, it didn't work out very well. I could not get my kefir to fizz up even after several days of working on this. I'm not sure what I did wrong. I'm going to have to do some troubleshooting, but one of my kids said, "You know what, Mom, it's okay. We can just try again." And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I made some cranberry juice, and again, this is a second ferment. So the way water kefir works, you have to basically activate the kefir by using sugar water, and there's a whole science behind it, and I'm not going to sit and explain that right now. But you have to activate the kefir and then ferment it a second time with fruit juice. And so this is me getting ready to do my second ferment. And then after you add the fruit juice to the kefir, it's supposed to fizz up like soda. But like I said, it didn't work for us, but I will try doing it again. Maybe I need to use a stronger juice or something, but I will update you if that's something that you're interested in, because I would love if we could get a handle on creating this really rich probiotic drink for our family, because it just will be another wonderful addition to what we're already doing towards our gut health and just our overall well-being. Once I was done getting my water kefir going, my ice cream machine went off. It only takes about 25 minutes or so to have my ice cream machine go off. And so it was time to transfer the ice cream to the freezer. And like I said before, I like to use these freezer safe containers to store my ice cream. It does not make the ice cream get too hard, and so it's easy to scoop it out and serve it to my family. And I'm using the ice cream that I made in this bowl to make a ice cream pie, as well as reserving some of it for those who just want plain vanilla ice cream. Once my ice cream was done, once my kefir was done, my dough was ready for making spaghetti. And so this is what you see me doing right now. Again, I love this machine. It's minimal work on my part. All I have to do is put the ingredients in, and then once the machine starts to extrude the pasta, I just have to cut it to size. It's so simple, it's so easy, and it has taken so much off my plate when it comes to making homemade pasta. We love pasta. My girls could eat pasta probably every day, but it's wonderful that this machine takes a bulk of the work off of me, and I can be very confident that I'm feeding my family with highly nutritious meals. All right, once my pasta was finished, it was time to ground my chicken. Again, I just used 2 chicken breasts and I ground them in my meat grinder really fast. And then I was able to put that into my skillet on the stove and combine all of that to create the dinner for the night. Now, I have not canned in a long time. This has not happened to me before. Now, since making my own pasta sauce, ketchup, barbecue sauce, all the condiments, I have been canning to keep up with what I need. And so I haven't canned in a long time, and I have used up everything. I've used up all my ketchup, I've used up all of my barbecue sauce, and I have used up all of my pasta sauce. My canning shelf is bare. And so today I realized while I was making the food, I was like, all right, that's right, I don't have any pasta sauce. But the beauty of this whole process of scratch cooking is I know exactly what I need to make pasta sauce. And luckily, I had some tomato paste on my shelf, and I used that as the base to make some pasta sauce really fast. And I put in all the ingredients, and I was like, exactly. Now, it doesn't have the depth of flavor as, say, it would have had I canned it, but I knew exactly what I needed to put together to grab and make a quick pasta sauce, and so that's what I had to do today. So this is what you see me doing, just running around grabbing the ingredients that I needed to put this together to make this meal happen. Otherwise, my son was like, oh mom, just let me run to the store and grab some pasta sauce, and then goes, actually, could you just make some? And so the fact that he had the confidence to think ahead and say, you know what, we could just run to the store, or you know what, I think you probably have the ingredients, let's just make it. So that's exactly what I did. I just made some sauce really fast to go with this dinner on this evening. And so now that my sauce is ready, I'm going to add some of it to my chicken before I cook the chicken. And I do this because the tomato juices will tenderize the chicken. If you cook the chicken first and then add the sauce after, your chicken will quickly overcook and become tough and not enjoyable. So I like to add the sauce before I cook it to keep the meat tenderized. All right, guys, so this is the last thing for the day. As you can see, my bread is finished. It is very soft, and in the pot you will see the spaghetti and meat sauce meal that we had for dinner. I had the 2 things of ice cream, the quart size jar of vanilla ice cream as well as the ice cream pie. And then in the back there, you'll see the bottles that I had prepared of the cranberry kefir. That did not work out, but we tried and we will keep trying because that's the nature of learning. That's how you grow. That's how you figure out how to adjust recipes. And that's how you become better at whatever it is that you are doing. You keep trying. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me on For Your Heart and Home. For those of you who are new here, my name is Dee Dee. Please feel welcomed to leave a comment in the comment section below if you have any questions about anything that you've seen in this video or previous videos. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. That would really help me, and I really appreciate seeing all of your comments, and I appreciate you liking and sharing this video with others. So I put out a video once every week. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you once again for being here, and all the best.